So tonight, our main focus is understanding how this object oriented, because when you go in interview, there are typical questions are there. So in interview, there are 9 questions you might be asking similarly. So those questions I'm going to cover tonight. Also, those similar questions you will have in your homework. And this is something you must know if you go for interview. These questions are easy. I always tell people, if you want to pass the Java specific interview, prepare this type of question and you will do very well. So we'll talk about those questions. We will do various labs. And in order to do labs, what I'm going to do, I'm going to use our forum. So you all have access to our forum. Make sure you log into our Infotech forum, and from there, access this link. We are in quality assurance. In quality assurance, we are under object-oriented programming. So Java object-oriented programming. So there are lots of good materials are there. So I want you to relax and enjoy that. This is really, really easy when you go through the material, because I design it and I will help you. At the same time, I also will give you hint about your project, how you can apply. And I'm pretty positive you will get a lot of hint when we do the labs. So first, we will go through some 9 questions, which are the interview questions we'll talk about. We'll also talk about UML. So last week we tried, but this week we're going to do a little bit better. So we'll do a UML exercise. For that, ideally, we should use a good software, but we don't have right now good software. So we will be using simple draw.io. We'll be using right now draw.io. But in a real life, people use rational rows, or people use visual paradigm, or people use some kind of they call architect, UML architect. These are good software, but they are licensed versions, so you have to buy for that. It means you have to pay for that, right? Rational rows is the IBM product. I used that. It was wonderful. But after that, there are many more products came. Draw.io is simple, but it's free. However, these are very powerful. The reason they charge money, because they do both type of engineering, which we talk about in database. You create a model first, which is nothing but UML. In database class, you did ER diagram, and from there you were doing commands. So from model, you can create a Java class. So this is what you can do it. And that is called forward engineering. Forward engineering is mostly important for new projects. If you do brand new project, you will do that. And reverse engineering, which we talk about, reverse means you create a model from your existing class. So if your existing class, you can create a model. This is now reverse engineering. You should know both. Again, our examples will not help, but in a real life, you will have a software. You can do that forward and reverse engineer like that. So you should know the concept. This is for existing project. They may ask question in interview, hey, have you done UML? And you can just say yes. So how you do that? You started forward engineering, backward engineering, or reverse engineering. Why did you do forward engineering? Why you didn't do reverse engineering? When should you do that? So those kind of questions people will ask, and you will see as we go further. There are certain terms you will learn tonight, and these terms are very important. Sometimes it's confusing if you are not very clear. Interface, abstract class, and concrete class. Again, these are easy if you pay attention. We'll talk about super versus this, and we'll talk about either versus has. And we'll do some exercise called populating object. This is very important for your QA role and for your project. So last exercise will be this. You need to understand this part in order to work on your project. I hope everything will be clear as we do the lab. So there are a lot to cover, and around 9 to 10 exercises we are going to do, which will help you to understand. Some of the things if I'm not able to cover, I'll cover next week. Your project is actually due week after. So next week, if you bring questions, then on January 5th, which is your project due. So you still have time. Okay, so don't be nervous. You can still do it. Once you know this concept, it's quite easy to do the project work. So because majority things will be addressed tonight. Now, any questions, concerns before I start creating our first exercise? Any questions on phone with respect to project, with respect to homework, any questions?
When does the, I guess, Selenium part come in?
Very good question. So the way I will do is tonight I'm most likely run out of time, so I may not be able to do testing. So testing I'm thinking to do on 29. So the way it works here, Java is a core. Everyone needs to know Java. And after Java, the complement will start with the framework. So next week we're going to cover TestNG, which is part of the Selenium, JUnit, that is the part of the Selenium. So next week I'll cover TestNG and JUnit. Then you already know Maven, which is the part of Selenium. Then we'll cover Git. Then we'll cover Selenium, I would say, sorry, my mistake, Catalan IDE, which is part of Selenium. Then we'll say Selenium Web Driver, which is part of Selenium. Then we'll cover Jenkins, which is part of the Selenium. And then we'll cover end-to-end automation, which is part of the Selenium. And we'll do Selenium Grid. So this is all we need to know in order to complete Selenium. So it may take around 8 to 9 weeks. So far we are only focusing this. I have to cover this entire thing in next 8+ weeks. So maybe after project, we'll start with that journey. So that's why I'm saying don't take day off, because if you take day off, it will be difficult for you to understand this concept. And the second thing, you will have weakness in interview projects, because you will also have a project. After that, you will have another project, which is the most important project we call capstone project, because it covers everything. That was a good question. Any other questions? Okay. Now, I know many of you do not have all the software in your machine, but there are softwares available. I'll give you some example, but right now let's start with the draw.io. It's easy. All of you can jump into the draw.io. So when we do draw.io, it will give you idea how UML type of works. So let's go to draw.io. It's easy, it's simple. Draw.io. Press enter. Majority of you know, so no worries. Draw.io. If you see this thing, just select the device and then create a new diagram. So tonight you will have one homework where you have to create UML diagram. Now, every interview, people will ask you, do you know UML? So if you say yes, your level goes up. If you say no, your level goes down. UML normally people know who are senior in Java programming. Beginner people will not use UML, but I would suggest you also start with UML, because most of the senior people who are going to work with you, they are not going to give you code, they're going to give you design. And you should know how to interpret the design, and that's easy way to have a communication among your team. So that is the reason I'll start with UML. Many of my interview, and I also conduct interview, I do ask people to draw the UML diagram, and it gives idea that how detailed person knows object-oriented programming. So it's easy. It is not like will take like a couple of hours, but you will easily understand. So let's create a new diagram. Now in this diagram, if you notice that there is a section called UML. So let's click on that. And you can see there are so many diagrams you should know. Now, many of you might have used some of the diagram. If you're a BA student have used this called swim lane diagram, which we call BPM. Though in UML, we don't call BPM. This is the swim lane. Swim lane means nothing but you are one activity is happening here, one activity is happening here, but it's very similar as BPM. Or some people have used sequence diagram. So in BA class, I normally teach that sequence diagram. I'll show you how to do that in this class so you will understand. I do need this kind of thing for your project because you will be asked to draw this kind of thing when you go for interview. They might, if you are in person, they will ask you to draw sequence diagram. You must know about it. They may also ask to draw a deployment diagram, which is this one. They may ask you to know. Now you will be surprised how many times I ask people to draw deployment diagram and people just draw a box. That's pretty much it because they don't know what is deployment diagram. And then tonight we're going to cover about this one. This is the class diagram. So right now we're going to click on this one and then we'll say create. So we are selecting this and then we'll say create. Now what is class diagram and all you will learn in maybe 10-15 minutes. So just relax, you will be fine in few minutes. Click on that, click on create. Give a name if it is asking. So right now I'm going to select school because it's easy for all of us to understand. This is our domain. So when you are going for interview, there might be a different domain, right? As I mentioned many times, people will ask you, do you know the domain? Like try to understand the domain before you go for interview, because if you go to insurance, think about what kind of classes you may see. Remember we talked about last call, people, places and think about it. Don't think during interview. You have to think before you go. At least you should have 7 entities or 7 objects knowledge, right? So school is very popular. So we'll select that and save. Now you can see I have this thing. Let me know if you are able to see something like that. Give me thumbs up. Okay, so Lashya is only one able to see. Pranav is able to see. Good, good. So now there are interpretations will happen. Abdul, any question?
You just saved it as what type of a file?
Just give any name. Just write school XML. It's stored as XML, so you can just give a student and you will store as a XML.
Okay.
Yeah. You can email also that file to your team members and they will be able to open it. So if you email them, they just need to go to file and open from, and then they can go to their device and then they can open and they can see the diagram which you prepared. So when you've done it, you can save it. You can just say save, and that file you can email to your team members, and you can also share among the group also. So your work is not being lost. You can share among the group. Okay, so now let's understand. First of all, class diagram means it represents bunch of classes. And whenever I say classes, think about entities, just like in database table. It's just like that. But here class means program. And again, they are same categorized, people, place or thing. Now class is represented as a rectangle block. So rectangle block, so this is the symbol of class. The first one will be the class name. The second will be attribute. And the third is the operation. So remember, class name, attribute and operation. So these are always, you will see the class name first, attribute and operation. So that is the way UML represent class. Now class and class will have a relationship, but there are mainly two type of class. You might have seen here. Please relax and pay attention. Do not do multitasking because you are going to learn 10 plus years of thing in 10 minutes. So it's kind of fire hose. If you don't pay attention, a minute word, you may miss it and you may have a little bit challenge later on. So relax. Don't try to do multitasking. I know sometimes we are human, right? One hand phone and one. Don't do that. This is extremely crucial. If you don't understand this part, it's equal to your kind of basic level, and basic level you will not be entertained in a job market. So make sure you understand. There is a one difference is interface, and there is a thing called class. Now they may definitely ask this kind of questions in interview. So relax. Now there are two type of thing in the life. Something you have full control, where you create yourself, and something someone say that you do need to do this, right? So let's relax and try to understand. Let's say I'm in Amazon. So this is the Amazon. I'm working for Amazon. So this is all Amazon shopping cart, da, 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 da. But then Amazon is working with Citibank, or Amazon is working with FedEx, or Amazon is working with UPS. If you have external system or external team, so this is the Amazon team, this is maybe Chase team, maybe UPS team, maybe FedEx team, and this is Amazon. When you have two different teams or two different projects or groups, if they want to talk to each other, you normally create interface. You normally create interface. The person who create interface is called service provider. He creates the interface. It's called service provider. And then a person who use it is called receiver. So let's take this example this way. Amazon is the company. Amazon wants to do shipping. Amazon wants to do shipping, and UPS does shipping. So who is the expert in shipping? Amazon or UPS?
UPS.
Yes.
Sorry.
UPS.
So whoever is expert, they will say, you know what? I will define interface. I will define interface. And then they sell that interface to Amazon. They can sell to Walmart. They can sell to maybe Best Buy. And they all will use same way interface. UPS is the one who is going to do coding. And they will ask certain things all of us to follow. Amazon to follow, Walmart to follow, and Best Buy to follow. So first of all, when should I use interface? Answer is very simple. If there are two different systems are there, or two different teams are there, when they talk to each other, they normally talk through interface. Make sense? So example, I'm one system. Computer is one system. If I want to talk, I'm using headset. I'm using mouse. So this mouse is an interface. The headset is an interface. But the headset is actually following USB in order to connect with the computer. Now this is the physical device. In the software, the way it works, I'll educate you. But first understand when to use interface. If there are two dissimilar systems, so think about Google and think about Bank of America. If Bank of America want to do search, who's the expert in search?
Google.
Google. So who is going to define interface? Google.
Google.
Who is expert will define the interface. Why? Because they want to sell that interface to not only Bank of America, but all over the world. Make sense?
Yes.
Why it is important? Because there are two concepts. One is called service provider. So if I'm expert, I will create interface. And then rest of the people will become my client. This expert is the one who does logic here, rest of the people client. So example, right now, if I go to, I'll go to one page, Google, just to give idea. Google, this is the search. Actually, this is the web page. This page is using an interface called search interface. If your cell phone, the cell phone is using search is actually going to here only. If you're using TV, and if you do TV search, it's going here only. If you have any other device, it's going through here. So you can see how easy it is for Google to code the search program, because everyone uses their interface. Because they use one interface, Google has to do coding one time, but selling multiple times. So this way they make a lot of money. Make sense? Think about Netflix. Netflix say, hey, you can watch my Netflix on TV, tablet, right? Cell phone, computer. You guys agree or not? Right? Laptop, desktop, right? So what they did, they didn't do anything. They just say, you know what? Who cares about the device? They just created interface. Netflix say, I'm expert in streaming. I'm going to create interface and all of you guys follow my interface. And when you follow, tomorrow if somebody add new, Netflix doesn't have to worry about it. They just need to keep following this. So think about now computer. In computer, there is a USB port. I hope everyone understands USB port. USB port created interface. You use mouse, you use keyboard, you use headset, you use scanner, you use camera. Doesn't matter. As long as they follow the interface, any device can be connected. This allows beautiful concept called polymorphism. Speak with me. Polymorphism. Polymorphism means poly means more and morphism means hide that complexity. Morph it means hide it. So tomorrow if I have if Netflix has a 70 client, Netflix is not going to write a single line of code. It's called plug and play. What do you call? Plug and play. So interface allow plug and play. So think about it. When you buy a mouse or keyboard, you normally don't think about what kind of computer you're using, what operating system you're using. You just know that it's going to work. Why? Because it's not plug and play. But if something is not plug and play because they have not defined interface. If you don't define interface, then there is no guarantee it will work. So big company focus on interface. An interface allow them to create once and implement multiple times. And that is called polymorphism. Polymorphism means one-time implementation and one-time definitions and multiple implementations. So far, so good. Any questions so far? Now, let's take an example. If I create an interface called shape, now do you agree the circle is a shape, rectangle is a shape, and triangle is a shape? They all follow shape. So you define with dotted line with this arrow, and that shows that you are implementing the contract. You're implementing contract of shape, just like USB. USB defined contract and mouse, keyboard, scanner, they follow that. The dotted line means called realization. Dotted line called realizations. Realizations means, yes, sir, I follow you. Yes, sir, I follow you. Yes, sir, I follow. Because they are consumer. The expert define the contract. So SAP say, you know what? If you are SAP, you all need area. So they define contract. They don't do much. They define contract. Now this guy say, oh, I know how to calculate my area. So he'll say, I calculate my area. And everyone knows the area is pi r square. Rectangle say, I know my area. And they say L time length time width. Triangle say, I know my area. And they'll say 1 divided by 2 base time height. You notice that they all are following interface. It means as long as they follow, people say SAP, any of this can be used, plug and play. But if they say area, but if this guy doesn't use area, then this guy cannot plug and play. So interface is nothing but a contract between these parties. If you follow it, which we call realization, it's a guarantee it will work. The benefit of that, tomorrow you can add and you don't have to change contract, neither you have to change here. Another benefit is area Name is same, but implementation is different. This guy area is pi r square. This guy area is length time width. This area is 1 divided by b. So this implementation is vary. That's the reason it's called polymorphism. Polymorphism means name is same, implementation is different. Make sense? So far, so good?
Yes.
Okay, any other questions so far? We're going to do exercise, but I want you to realize that what I'm trying to explain. You will be using that. I can give you guarantee. You will not find a single project that you will not have an interface. Let me give you simple thing. Whenever you work with Selenium, you only work with interface. You say, but I don't understand. So Selenium only gives you interface because Selenium say, when you say web driver, you work with a web driver. If you want Google Chrome, it will work. It will work. Safari, it will work. Opera, it's gonna work. So any good software is based on interface. It is not designed for one browser. It's designed for all browsers in the world because it is designed based on interface. So when you write a good programming and you know that today or tomorrow my clients will change or increase, always start with interface. An interface is written as this glue, they call glue, like this glue, and they write interface. So they write interface as a glue in the sense of like this type of symbol, greater than, less than type of symbol, angular bracket, and the child class use dotted line. It means in easy language, this is the contract. I'm implementing contract my own way. This is the contract. I'm implementing contract. So dotted means realization, but my own way. This entire concept is called polymorphism, right? So think about bank. So in a bank, you will have an account. Do you guys agree the account can be interface? Say yes or no. So in account, I can create an interface and I can say debit. Every account should have debit. Every account should can have checking, credit, so my mistake. Now I can create an account, saving account. It means saving account should allow me to deposit, sorry, not, let's do this way, deposit, withdraw, check status. It means saving account should allow me that, dotted line. If I do checking account, it should allow me that, right? Tomorrow, let's say I have business account, it should allow me that. So the benefit of doing this way, tomorrow if you add another account, maybe brokerage account, you don't have to worry about it. If as long as they follow this interface, it's plug and play. So a person like me, I can have checking account, saving account, or I can have, broker account, no problem. Do I have to use? You don't have to. But if you use it long term, you will have flexibility. So whenever you think that you need a flexibility, people use interface. Interface, these class only say what they need. So they just specify methods. So they specify method, you can deposit, but it doesn't write logic. Listen carefully. It just say you deposit. Every account should have deposit. Every account should have an option called withdraw. Every account should have a check status. It means these three methods, they just write method name. They don't like logic, but these guys have to have all three methods with logic. Make sense? So they have to write logic because their logic vary based on checking account, logic vary based on saving account, logic vary based on the business account. Logic will vary, but the name will remain same. And this concept, when logic varies, it's called morphism, but multiple times, so polymorphism. Make sense? So if I say what is interface? So interface is nothing but contract where you define only the method name and the child class will implement method name. Normally, there are multiple child class. They all implement differently. So this concept is called polymorphism, allows future flexibility. Questions, concerns, doubt? Good. Now, this is one concept. The second concept is if I go back to here, the diagram which we saw. I'm just trying to educate the diagram. Relax, okay? We are not done yet. We're going to do a couple of times this thing. Now you can see everywhere interface is there. It is very common practice that people will use internet interface. It's a very common practice. Okay, so let's click on the plus sign. Click on the plus sign. So we'll have a new page like this. Now expand your UML section. So you will have like that. So far so good. Now I'm going to show you something like 4 or 5 things which you should see in a class diagram. So if you move your mouse, you will see somewhere class, right? And this one is better. So take this thing, third one, and drag and drop. You can make it bigger if you want, again, right? Now I'm going to talk about school. So I have to think about relationship about entities. So let's right now create a different entity. Double click on that and this is school. So that's one class. Don't worry about field and method name right now. Just say class school. Now add another class, drag and drop, and say division. Department would be better. Add another class and say instructor. Let's add another class, course. Let's another class and student. Let's add another class, enrollment. Let's add another class. Great. Right. So you can see I added different classes. Oops. Now, there are many ways you can connect these classes. So first of all, class diagram should have a bunch of classes. Now, just like in UML diagram, in your ER diagram, you will link them. So here we need to think about it, how this model will work. So if I'm only doing for my own purpose and I'm not going to share anyone, then I don't have to use interface, because if I'm using only for myself. But if I'm creating a product, which is I'm going to sell to all school in Illinois, all school in New York, all school in the world, then I have to think about interface. Interface only needed when you want scale, flexibility. If you're not doing that, you don't need a interface. So most of big company who are going to hire, they will use interface because they are creating a product, and product normally scalable and they are going to sell all over the world. So they use interface. But if you are doing only for your purpose and there is no, you don't have to use interface, just as FYI. So now school. Now let's talk about these two entity right now, school and department. If I give you two options, department is a school or school has department, which one make more sense?
School has department.
School has department. Very good. So if you move a mouse here, somewhere you will see aggregation. Yeah, this one. Relax, okay? This is the one. And drag and drop somewhere here like that. That's called aggregation. This aggregation means this side is a parent. In our case, it will be school, and this side department. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to drag it here. And I'm going to click here and I'm going to drag it here. So now if anybody who knows Java programming in the world, they will understand school has department. one school has many departments. That symbol means aggregation means has a. Speak with me, has a, right? So means school has many departments. Do you guys agree so far? Any questions here? Now there is a complex question here. Relax, okay? My goal is to prepare you, not to scare you. But these are important questions. I give you guarantee 100,000 that if you have friends and family member or someone who are knowing Java, whatever I'm teaching you in next 1.5 hours, I give you guarantee if you ask them 80% chances they will not be able to answer correctly, because these are important, but not everyone knows about it. The reason I'm teaching you right now, so you can pay attention, you do it right from first day. Majority people do coding, but they don't know the concept, and that's the reason we are having bigger problem. Okay, so aggregation. So there is, if you move mouse, there will be a called composition. Yeah, this one. Now put it here. Most of the time, when you do good job in your interview, then this question will come. This is the aggregation, and this is the compositions. Most of the time, people will ask these questions. I ask these questions all the time, and so far, correct answer only 2% people have given me. Only 2% people have given me correct answer. I ask almost every interview. Only 2% people have given me correct answer. Matter of fact, 98% try to make me fool. They give me wrong. See, first of all, you do not know, and you're in interview, you're trying to tell me it's not going to work well, right? It's so simple. In 2 minutes, you will understand. Pay attention, okay? They both are almost same. 80% they are same. So if I, instead of this, if I put here, composition here, it's not a wrong. It's still right. But the interpretation will change. So let me give you an example. If I have a car, please pay attention. If I have a car and I have engine inside, car and engine. Let's say something happen. Car destroy. Will engine destroy, or can I reuse the engine?
You can reuse the engine.
So engine can be reused. That's another example. That was, I think, Mahasweta, right?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad you asked to answer that question. Good. So now next question, only for you, Mahasweta. Thank you for. Yeah. No, you will learn. You will remember lifetime. There is a house.
Hmm.
I'm not a good in a drawing, but let's pretend in India we used to draw this way. So I'm just going to draw this way house. This is the room, doors, and all kind of things, right? So that let's assume this house has a fire. What happened with this wall? Will this wall will remain there, or it will
Depends
burn out?
if you are in India or America. India, maybe it stays there if it's made
Can
of.
you reuse? Can you reuse, or when you
No, you
burn out,
cannot reuse.
you cannot reuse? So when house is burned, most likely the wall is also burned. I like what you mentioned about in America. So in America, seems like you're going to say 100%. When house is burned, wall will
It's
be
gone.
burned,
Yeah.
right? You cannot. If you are, let's just an example. If your neighbor has a house, suppose, and nothing happened, thank God. But let's assume they have fire. Can you take that wall and use in your house?
No,
But for car, you
you
can
can.
use. You can use it. I hope you understand. And
Yes.
that is the difference between these two. If you can not use it because it destroy along with the main object. So this is the main object and this is the part. So here if I say car and here I say engine. So if I destroy car, an engine is destroy or not destroy, that decide this symbol. So if you use this symbol, it means as soon as car is destroyed, engine is destroyed.
Okay.
Because this is called composition. Composition means strong relationship. If I destroy the parent, the owner here, then a child also destroyed. But if I define this aggregation, we are giving hint that sometimes when parent destroy, child component can survive. So now my questions to you,
Mhm.
if I close school, can the department be independently work?
No.
Answer is no. So out of these two symbol, which one should I use?
The bottom one.
That is called composition.
Composition, yes.
And that is the right UML design. Make sense?
Mhm.
Now you know with understanding.
Mhm.
Do you guys agree? Any
Yes.
questions so far?
So if they can survive, the child survive without the parent, then it's composition.
Yeah.
If they cannot survive, then it's aggregation.
Yes. And now let's do another aggregation. Now yourself you decide. If I destroy department, math department is destroyed. We are stopping math department.
Mm.
The student will die along with that, or student can go to different school.
Different school.
So should I use composition or should I use,
Aggregation.
see, now you're knowing it. Do you guys agree or not?
Yeah.
And that is where composition go here. So these symbols are always available, but use it with wisely. If I read these things, so if say in case department is closed, student is not going to die. Make sense?
Yes.
Now, same thing apply for department. If I close department and there is a instructor, so department has instructor, but what if happen if department close, instructor will die along with the department, or they find a different college.
They can find different college.
In that case,
Aggregation.
now, do you think this is hard? Only 2% people so far have answered, and I have taken maybe more than 1,000 interview. You see how easy it is? But
Mhm.
people are not clear because they try to memorize it without understanding, right? Now, same thing apply for course. So department offer course. So if I have an example, computer, we call IT department, then IT department offer course. Now, if department destroy, will that course will independently work or
No,
it will destroy?
destroy.
Do you guys agree with Mahashweta, or only C is understanding, rest of the people say, I have no idea what he's talking about? If you are understanding, give me thumbs up, right? I want to make sure you are my student because you represent truly. And this is the gamification that you know more than average. That's the sign of getting job, right? This is simple, but it's very powerful difference, right? So student, right? Now, if I close school itself, so school, so I would say, and let's put enrollment here. So I'll put it enrollment here. So student enroll for the courses. So now I have enrollment here. Now, please understand. So far we have has a, now one course has many enrollment. So one course has many enrollment. So I come here. Now the question is, if I stop the course, will that enrollment independently work or will not work?
It can go. You can enroll for different course, but
But same course, like today I say, hey, now onwards I'm not going to teach Java. All
then no
those,
enrollment.
so in that case again, compositions. Make sense or no?
Yes.
Right? Okay. Sorry, this symbol is hidden some reason. Okay, that is done. And now student has a many grade. So if student destroy, then his grade is also destroyed. So you can put it also compositions.
Composition.
Let's say if you're not very clear, just for a second. If you're not very clear, which one would you use? In that case, I'll use this one because this gives you flexibility that child object can survive, but that also give you wrong impression too. So example, if student itself die, his grade cannot survive. So if you do here, you're saying grade can survive independently. That's a wrong signal. So sometimes programming becomes a little bit headache because the signal itself is wrong, right? So right now I created a high level class diagram. Any questions so far? We are not done yet, but this is like two things we cover: composition, aggregations. Good. Now let's do little, let me do some arrangement here so we can create some spaces here. sorry for that. Okay, I want to do something with this guy here, so I can create some space here. Sorry, this is not the base software, but it still communicate the concept. So that's why I'm using it. In a real life, you will be using good software. Now, student. I'm going to add another student. Let's say part-time student. Part-time. And full-time. Now I'm going to say something. Listen carefully. School has department. School has department. It makes sense. Student has part-time. Student has full-time, or part-time is a student. Full-time is a student.
Full-time and part-time is a student.
Yeah. So the student is actually high level, but there are two types of student: part-time student, full-time students. Do you guys see? So when you have like some similarity and some differences, at that time you use either, and there should be a symbol called extend. Do you see that or no? Come on, come on. Extend.
I think it's the third one on the middle.
This one.
Yeah. On the left. Down a little bit more.
This one. Maybe I'm not able to see. Okay, here you go. Composition, terminate, inner class. No, this is just association.
Keep going in.
I don't have space here. Oh, more steps here. Okay. Let me do one thing. Make it. Why am I not getting further symbol? It should be written extend. Okay, here you go. This page is there. Let me search here. Extend. Yeah, that is better. This one. Just search extend. It's easy that way. Got it?
Where do you search it?
Here.
Oh, yes.
And we'll take this one. Extend. Extend is also known as a generalization. Now, so if I say that, like this symbol, part-time is a student, then I represent this way. Part-time is a student. And if I represent this thing, full-time is a student, then this is called parent-child relationship. Parent-child relationship. This is also called subclasses, and this is called superclasses or parent classes or base classes. The symbol shows that this is the parent and this is child. Extend means inheritance. Extend means inheritance, means what you have here automatically comes here, automatically comes here. So these two guys inherit whatever things are common. So whatever things are common will go here. Common will go here. And what is a specific thing? Specific will go here. Specific. So specific, like part-time will have specific item here, full-time have specific item here, but common will go here. So this one you only use when you want reusability. Reusability. Reusability means, like example, this guy has part-time student has first name, last name, email, phone number. Part-time, full-time student has first name, last name, email, phone. So rather than repeating over and over, you can put it here. So you have to repeat only one time. So reusable. So parent-child helps you for reusability, while others, aggregations, will help you for flexibility, because you can have flexibility. like one parent can have many child. But here, if you use either parent child, where here common will go here, specific will go here, and you can have many child, like you can have an international student, and you can point the same way. This guy, they have special thing, but all things they should have common will go here. So this is called either. You will see a lot more things in your real life also. So you in your real life, majority time, you will see this one and aggregations and all this one you will see. So that's why they always ask question, do you know aggregation? Do you know composition? Do you know inheritance or extents? They will ask you. So far so good. Any other questions? Good. Any questions so far? Okay. Now let's say I want to have enrollment with the payment. Just an example. So here student does enrollment, right? So you can see here student. I want to say, sorry for that. I had to do a little bit space so it looks good. Student wants to do enrollment, right? Because course, so one student has many enrollment. So has many enrollment. So I'm going to use aggregation here. So one student has many enrollment. So I'm going to use that, right? I can use composition technically speaking, but right now I'm using this thing for a second. So now I have that, but let's say I want to do payment, just an example. Now, please understand, student has many enrollment, but I want to do payment. But then you will say, but the student can pay various form. They can pay by credit card, they can pay by debit card. Tomorrow you can say they can pay by PayPal, then Google Pay. As soon as you see such like this thing, polymorphism, it should come in your mind like that. Do you guys agree?
Mm-hmm.
You have multiple options doing the same thing. So polymorphism. So in that case, you may look for the interface somewhere. And what are you going to say? Payment. Why are you going to say? Because you don't know how many options in the future you will have. Make sense? Then you're going to put here debit card, debit. Then you will put credit. Then you will say whatever way, like a Visa, what do you call, gift card, right? Nowadays, you can have Google Pay. Man, there are so many pays available. Google Pay, Apple Pay, Stripe, right? Many, PayPal, right? So you can see how many options you got. And I'm sure in the future, there will be more. So to avoid futuristic problem, student will work with payment. So when student will work with payment, so what you do, you don't know student own it, no. So in that case, you just do the line, like I'll show you the line. There will be like this kind of line association. There should be association. Just you can do line. Yeah, this type of thing. This is fine. So you can use this line and connect like that. And you can say student associated with payment. Means student has some kind of way to payment. Now, whoever is gonna ask student to pay, whichever system they are, either web or mobile or what, they all have to follow this payment interface. So in that case, you need to find a realizations, which is realization. If you don't find, just search it. Realization or implementation, they write. You can see here dotted line, realizations, and then you put it here like that. So debit card, realize payment, like that. Now, credit card, realize payment. Now, gift, realize payment. I hope everyone is understanding. This is the best way to teach anyone UML in the shortest period of time with a good example. And this is also recorded, so you can watch it. When you do the class, your bank related class, you and your team member has to discuss about it. I'm giving you simple example, which is called school, right? So now you have interface. Now you may say, but Tushar, why did you use interface? Can I use class? You can, but as soon as you use class, listen carefully. As soon as you use class, you should know everything about class. That's called concrete class. Concrete means you should know everything. But for payment, you don't know in the future how they're going to pay, because this is the futuristic view. You don't know how they're going to pay. That's why you want to keep yourself flexible. And the best way to do flexible is to define interface. So tomorrow, if somebody add new, you don't have to take any actions. Make sense? So anytime you are depend on someone else or you don't know much, you start with interface. Interface gives you talk about what you want and how part can be done later, right? But here in student, this is the class. You need to know everything about student, which you know, but you don't know everything about payment because there are 50 students and each student may have different needs and different way they pay. So to solve that problem, you give a flexibility through interface. Any questions, concerns, doubt? Good. Will you be able to answer now my homework? What is interface? What is realizations, right? So now people will say, but Tushar, tell me what's the difference between these two then? It looks like similar. This is like a parent child. And this is like a dotted line only. And here you have a strong line, solid line. What's the difference? There is a subtle difference. Here, these are concrete class. This is concrete. Concrete means complete knowledge you have. While this one is abstract. Abstract means you have no idea. You just know I need a payment detail. But you don't know who's going to give, how they're going to give, what they're going to give. You don't know. You just need a payment. So this is abstract. And these are not needed now. This can be added whenever you need it. So these are futuristic view. You just do. You said, still I don't get it. Let me give you an example. See, when you build a house, and this is what I learned, this is very interesting. When you build a house, they will give you a door. You can buy a door. So when you buy a door, they will give a door with a hole. And this is something that surprised me. Do you know why they give door with the hole, not a lock? Do you know that? Why they give the door with the hole? I thought maybe lock should come with the door. But they just give you circle hole. Why?
So you can put any lock you want to use.
Because the person who made the door has no idea. Are you going to use digital lock? Are you going to use key lock? Are you going to use number lock? They don't know. So what they did is they created interface. The circle is the interface that's called lock. As long as your lock follow this diameter and you can fit in, and if you use realization means if your things fit here, you can use key lock, you can use digital lock, you can use number lock. Makes sense or no? And that is the reason anytime, see, lock is one thing, door is one thing. These are two dissimilar systems. And between that, these are the way you do it, but you don't know what you're going to do. So that's why they keep it interface and move forward. Door itself is a physical, which is a concrete, but hole itself is abstract, which will be decided later, but you don't have knowledge right now. Make sense? Are we understanding or not? And that is the reason people use interface. Very important topic. It's, I know sometimes it's a little harder, but ask in yourself, do I know everything? Maybe you can use concrete class. If I don't know, you can use interface. Something I want it, but someone else will do implement interface. So when IRS say you have to submit the tax, listen carefully. When IRS say you have to submit the tax paper, so IRS say you need to submit the tax paper. So this is the IRS, and there are millions of people in the United States. Are they going to tell everyone how to submit? They say, who cares about everyone? They're going to say, hey, there is a tax interface is there. And then these people, some people will be using TurboTax. Some people will go to HRN block. Some people will do by themselves. Some people will use CBA. Some people will use maybe QuickBooks. So now IRS say, wait a minute, man, these people are using various things. I'm not going to educate everyone. I'm going to define interface, and everyone has to follow IRS interface because IRS is the one who knows tax rules. If they all use interface, doesn't matter who is using what, it's going to work. Do you guys agree or not? So interface allows peace of mind to IRS. Now TurboTax can come up with different version, different software. Tomorrow Google can come, someone else come, who cares? As long as they use their interface, everything will be smooth. So that's the reason interface is designed. Any questions? We have one more to cover and we are done. Any other questions? If you're good with that, give me thumbs up so I can do one more and we are done with the all class diagram. Right? So Sila said good, Bhakti said. Now this is a little tricky. So you have to pay attention. Okay. Interface, you only know what? IRS want tax, but how you don't know. Listen carefully. So let's take an example. If I say shape, we were talking about shape. I need area, but I don't know the logic. I need area, so I know what. But the circle knows how to calculate the area for the circle. Rectangle knows how to calculate the area of rectangle. Make sense or no? So they know how. So if you only know what you want, IRS want tax. So they use interface. And how part goes to the child class, which is called realizations. In this situation also, what we want, listen carefully, what we want payment. How that is done by this guy. So these are concrete class. These are concrete class. When you see dotted line, it means realizations or implement. Speak with me. Implement. This will be a question in your certificate. Implement. So if you know what, interface only knows what means no logic at all. No logic at all. Logic will go here. Logic will go here. Logic will go here. Logic will go here. Then people started complaining. What if, listen carefully. Okay. Last thing. What if I know some logic, and some place I do not know, and I only know what? Because this is the parent and this is child. But because this guy doesn't have a logic, we call interface. This guy doesn't have a logic, so we call interface because it's just a abstract. But what if there's a logic here? Then these are all child. They all can inherit that logic. They get benefit of reusability. So then there is another concept came. Listen carefully. Interface only knows what? There is no logic. So there is no reusability. But there are cases where you have some logic method, maybe a school name here, maybe some timestamp. You have some knowledge and you want that knowledge automatically goes to child because it's the parent-child relationship. And also you need a payment. So you have some logic and you don't have a logic. In that situation, it's a combination. Some logic is there and there is no logic. So whichever I have a logic, this child will get those automatically. And whichever does not have a logic, child has to implement that logic. And if you have this combination, then rather than interface, that become abstract class, abstract class, abstract class, abstract class. So there will be interview question. What's the difference between interface versus abstract class? Abstract class. So interface only have a what? I need payment. I need a tax, but there is no logic. Abstract class use a similar concept as internet. I need a payment, but it also say this is for this school and this place. So some logic is there, some method is there, and then there is a one thing called what? There is no logic. So if you have a combination of logic and no logic, then you should use abstract class. If you use abstract class, then you have reusability and polymorphism. So you get both benefit. Abstract class gives you reusability and polymorphism, both. So sometimes people ask, what's the difference? So interface, I always prefer versus abstract class. But if you feel like reusability is important, then you can use abstract class. Abstract class gives you logic, which is reuse, and you can also have polymorphism. Which one is flexible? Interface is the most flexible. Make sense? Now, because you are most of are new, most likely you are not going to use abstract class in your project. But when you go in a real life, abstract class are used for framework. Because in framework, you can use some of the logic and some of the non-logic. Again, this is just a theory perspective you should know about. There is a difference between interface versus abstract class. Interface, no logic. Abstract class has logic and no logic. The combination of method. And that is the reason it becomes abstract class. If you know this much what I explained, you can almost any questions about UML diagram you can answer. These are the things you will see in a class diagram. Questions so far? Good. Now, if this tool is good, then I can right click and create a source code, and it should have created all classes for me. All classes for me. I can right click and create a classes, but because this tool is not that good, I cannot create a classes. So right now we can just save it and we can move on to the next topic. Save it. So that was the first topic I want to cover, UML, which is the first topic. You all should know about UML. If I have a good software, I would have converted Java class, and that's called forward engineering. In your company, wherever you will work, you're in your company, mostly this will be done by architect. Architect create this, and this is called model. Sometimes we call class diagram, sometimes we call model. Architect create the model, and then they create a class. Those classes are called skeleton class, basic class. Logic you still have to write, but the naming conventions, method name, relationship, architect manage. And you write the logic. You write logic of the methods. You write the logic of method, but the class name, the relationship, and all will be controlled by architect. So normally architect create the skeletons and give you, and you write the code for that. This kind of concept, the model to class, it's called forward engineering, which is most preferred in a newer project world. Good. Now let's get into the NetBeans and do some coding. So let's start our NetBeans. Let me know if your NetBeans is up and running so we can start our couple of classes. Good. Awesome. So let's go to file menu, new project. This time my NetBeans is same as yours because I have a newer version. NetBeans, and you have Java with Maven, right? So far I was having Maven and all. So this is new one. So Java with Maven. And select Java applications and say next. And we'll say my OOP, object oriented programming. Sometimes we call OOPS, object oriented programming system. OOPS, object oriented programming system. And finish. And it can, because I have new thing, you might have noticed that it writes main method for me. Ta-da! It saves so much time. I like that. So if you don't have the main method, you know how to create the main method, right? I'm going to give you anyhow in a WebEx, so you can cut and paste and don't cry. You can also add it quickly. Good. You can right click and just run it and see if it works for you. And it's going to compile and it's going to get you the result and hello world. So this is my base. Let me know if you have this thing ready. If this is not working for you, just give me thumbs up, so at least I know it's working. Good. Pranav said good. Okay, I saw many thumbs up. Okay, perfect. So we're going to do one by one. First, I'm going to start with a very basic thing. So please understand, relax. Okay, today's class is very, very important. So don't do multitasking. I'm going to show you how to create a class. I'm going to show you how to create attributes, and I'm going to show you how to create operations. And then I will be using these class from the main method. So I'm going to show you that, right? First, I'm going to do rectangle class. Then I'm going to do circle class so you can see how it works. Then we'll do school class. And then school has department, we'll do that. And then student class and full-time and part-time student. And we'll do that relationship also. And that might close our day today. So we're going to do relax. Okay. So first thing first. Go to your package, right click there, and say new Java class. New Java class. When you start the class, first letter is capital, write rectangle. Rectangle. And press enter. We are here. Now, anytime you start class, make sure the first letter is capital. Always start with attribute. So if I'm doing rectangle, the attribute will be length, right? And width, right? I'm not going to write L because many times people write 1 and I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to write length. And normally I write L and W, but I noticed in last 5-6 times people used to write 1 and it's create a problem. So we're going to write length. Okay, so let's write here. So we'll say private int length and private int width. Make sure spellings are correct with mine. And I'm going to paste it in chat room in case if you have a hard time. Don't cry with this yellow color. This is not an error. This is called information only. Don't cry with that. Now, anytime you have this vertical attribute, you need a setter and getter. You need a constructor and all. So let me show you. This process which I'm showing you, I'm going to repeat today at least 4 to 5 times. You can do the similar thing for your project. You can get started. So you have class. You need to define attributes. If you have seen my video, you have seen my project document, I gave you attributes, so you know how to write attribute. Your attribute will be string. Some cases, if it is spelling, like example, first name, last name, email. If it is a numeric value, you can also have a float. If it is a decimal value, if you can have date also. So in that case, you can define the data types. But right now I have 2 attributes. Now, in order for me, Java follow capsule. Java follow capsules like that, just like medicine capsules. And in capsules, medicines may be inside and you cannot touch the medicine. You only touch the capsule. So Java follow this concept is called encapsulations. That's also interview questions. Encapsulations means hidden, or in easy language, they call data hiding. Data hiding. Data hiding means your data, which is nothing but this attribute, should be hidden. And that's why we do private. Encapsulation means if you want to talk to the data, you have to go through a method. And this method, normally you have set and get method. Set means you write and get means you read. So if you want anybody to get the data From this capsule, then you need a get method. Set and get, these are operations. If you want people to write and change this data, you do set. Set means write. And those methods will be public. That method will be public. If you want anybody to read the data, then you say get public. Get public means they can read the data. So if you write set and get, then people can read and write the data. If you say no, no one should change, then you can write get. So it's called read only. Sometimes people ask, how can you make object read only? Don't write set, so they can only read. So example, if somebody want to know United States, what do you call country code, or United States president name, or United States flag, or United States like a certain type of icon or logo, right? Those are read only. They cannot change. They just can read. In that case, you don't need to write set. So whatever you write, everyone can read. You can also do that. They can write it, but they cannot read it. So if you remove get, like that. But because we are doing first time, I want to write get and set. Okay. We don't write it. There's an easy way to do so. So first you write this one. And then you right click. Please follow me. Right click. Then follow insert code. Let me repeat. You right click and follow insert code. So when you follow insert code, you will have this many options. You're going to select getter and setter. Getter and setter. Let me repeat. Anywhere, doesn't matter. You go up or down, doesn't matter. But ideally, you should do after this. Make sure the curly bracket is well defined here. There is no issue with that. Cursor is anywhere in the middle. Right click, insert code, and select getter and setter. Getter and setter. Getter and setter. Check, check, check. What are you going to do? Check, check, check. And when you do so, you can see it says encapsulation by default and generate, and you're done. Was it hard at all? In case you made a mistake, let's say you made a spelling mistake, you change this thing, it will error out. Now it will cry. Don't worry about it. Whatever you've done, remove that. And you right click again, insert code, getter and setter, check, 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 and you can regenerate. Oh, I made a mistake. Don't worry about it. Just delete it, fix the mistakes, right? And right click, insert code, getter and setter, check, check, check. This is called Pojo. This is called Pojo. Pojo means it's a plain old Java object. Anytime when you start the project, anytime you start the new job, you will be doing this kind of work just for initial period, because they want you to start with the basic work. This kind of work, Pojo, they will give you class diagram. You will have class name, you will have attributes, and then you will have operation. They will ask you, why don't you go and code this class? They normally give you 8 hours. I can give you guarantee you can do that in 10 minutes if you are paying for focus. They normally give you 8 hours in a real life. You can do in 10 minutes. Why? Because it's so simple. The reason they give you 8 hours, because average person take 8 hours. They write line by line this thing. We use IDE. Our IDE is so smart. So we do that IDE. That's why we are so fast. But people write this. I have seen people write that. Rather than writing, we should do this way. Questions, concerns, doubt? Everyone is good so far? Anyone has any issue? Everyone knows? Check, check, check. One more time in case, don't ask me next time, okay? I'll be falling. If you ask me, hey, what did you do? First write the attribute, right click, insert code, getter and setter, check, 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 and done. Now you can see each attribute, you have getter and setter. You might have noticed there is a this word. This means this class. This means this class. So when somebody write outsider, they use the same variable, the variable I have. So the difference between this value will be set to this variable, and that's why you're using this, means this is what we are using here, and this is outside. So when your same variable, this variable represent your this variable, and this is the outside variable. So make sure these mean the class. Yeah, so the class is ready. Now, how do I use it? Remember last week we talked about if you go to Chuck E. Cheese, there is a stamp is there, right? Chuck E. Cheese has a stamp, and that stamp, every time when you specify hand, they're going to give you impressions, right? So stamp is one and impression is many. So this is our stamp, which we call class or template. This is called class or template. Class or template, or sometimes people call blueprint. Class, template, or blueprint. Now, how do I use it? In order to use, you have to go to the other class, which is the main class, which has a main method. This is your POJO, plain old Java object. Last 28 years, this concept is remained there. So that's why it's called POJO, plain old Java object. Now we will go to my loop and let's double click on it. And when you double click, you are in a main class. Now in case I want to use this, so first I need to know the class. So how do I use it? Just like a scanner, exactly like a scanner. Check it out. So here, rectangle is the class, R capital. Rectangle is a class, and I want to create a first rectangle. So I'll say R1, or I can say rect1, or I can say rectangle1, whatever name I want to give. But for time being, I'm going to say rect1, rectangle 1. It's not a L, it's 1. It's 1. It's 1, and it's 1. Rect1. I want to create my own copy. So equals to new. New means I'm going to create my own copy. New. From where? I have template. Rectangle. And semicolon. So what I'm saying here, I'm saying that I have a class. That class, I'm going to create a copy. And when I create a copy from rectangle, that will be also rectangle. But this is my small rectangle. I can create a bigger rectangle. I can create a very big rectangle. I can create a very, very big rectangle. So from this template, I can create as many rectangle as I want. Each time I will need to change the name. Rectangle 1, rectangle 2, rectangle 3, rectangle 4, rectangle 5, rectangle, as many as I want. So example, if I want to create a second one, I don't need to cry. I just say rectangle, right? I say rectangle, and I'll say rectangle 2. And new, what is the original I have? Template, rectangle. Can I write circle here? Sorry, my mistake, spelling was incorrect. Can I write circle here? Can I write circle here?
Not until you make one.
Exactly, because I don't have it. So what I have goes here.
Rectangle.
From there I create a new, and it will create this. But what is this? Is it integer? Is it a string? No, it is a rectangle. So that's why I'm using rectangle. So here I created 2 rectangles. Any questions so far? Now, if I want to decorate the rectangle, so I can say, hey, rectangle 1 dot, so you can see I get method, and I'll say set, so I get both method. So I can say set width, the first rectangle, let's say I can say 2, your width is 2, rect1, and set length, let's say this time 5. So I define the first rectangle width 2 and length 5. Now if I want to print it again, so I'll say sout tab, and I can say width equals to plus, I'll say rect1 dot get length. And when I do get length, it is going to know, oh, you have already sent 5, it should get me 5. And if I say sout length equals 2 and plus rect1 get width, it should get me that. After you do that, you save it and run it and see if you get it. If you get it, give me ta-da. So you know how to set and you know how to width. I'm going to give you this code in a chat room also, so you can speed up the work also in case if you have a slow typing speed. Yeah, but if you are getting the result, just give me thumbs up, so at least I know you are following the flow. First I'm setting and then I'm reading. Because these methods are public, I'm able to call that. These are public method. When I'm calling that, it goes here, and then there are set method through it set the variables. And when I say get, through get, it goes here and get me the value. Good, good, good. Give me more thumbs up, at least I know everyone is doing good so far. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Nice, nice. Remember, programming is easy. You just need to pay right way, right focus. I have seen people works in programming in a few weeks, and the reason they work because they understand the concept. The people who do on and off, it's not a programming. They might be doing here and there, but you need to know concept very well. That's why it's very important. Learn thoroughly. Lifetime you will use the benefit. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Now, can I do the similar thing here? I can copy this whole section here, and this is rectangle 2. So now I can say, I highlight and copy that. Everyone knows how to highlight and copy. You just select that, Control C and then Control V, and I can say rectangle 2. Let's say this rectangle 2, I can say, sorry for that. This rectangle has, let's say, 20 and 50. So this is 50 and this is 2. 2 means second instance. So I have 2 instances. So you can see that I created second rectangle. First rectangle, you have seen that this one has 2 and 5, and I'm printing that. The second rectangle, I did that 2050, and I'm printing that as well. You can see I'm decorating different length and different width. Now, if I save it and run it, I'm going to get 2 rectangle details. And you can see now the first rectangle detail I get this, and second I get that as well. Template is still same, but I'm decorating differently. And that's the beautiful part about object-oriented programming. A rectangle is so generic that I can create a smaller rectangle or I can create a bigger rectangle by just specifying the width. And those are attributes here. So these attributes, which I can change it using this operation, getter and setter. Every rectangle can have different size and shape, and that's what I'm trying to do here. This rectangle has different shape and size, and this rectangle has, and I'm getting, setting and getting. The set and get is already here. If I don't have set and get, let's accidentally I delete it, you can get an error here because it's not going to get it that. If it is not in a template, it won't come here. So you need to make sure your template is first ready before you create an instance. So this is a class and this is the instance. When you use this rectangle, sorry, the class name, and when you use this, it's called constructor. Constructor means you're constructing. So when you construct, it is an empty rectangle, and then you're setting length and width. Here you're constructing another object, which is empty. This one has no relationship with this one. Just like a one car, you create a multiple car. One car can be red color car, which is a GM car. One color can be green color car, maybe blue Chrysler car. One may be a blue color car, maybe Toyota. They don't have a relationship. They are different instance. So when you create a rectangle, they are created from same template, but they represent totally differently. Just like if I have template student and I create each of you as an instance, they are different. They created from the source same, which is the class, but they can be decorated differently. They might have a similarity, but the values are different. Each one has different first name, last name, maybe emails are different, maybe city states are different, like that. So that's the beautiful part about object. They both rectangle, the rectangle 1 and rectangle 2, they both have flavor of rectangle. However, they follow different length and width. Make sense? Can I count everyone is able to see the result here? Any questions? How to create the instance? This is the instance 1. Anytime you create instance, you use new.
I'm actually showing errors on the second rectangle for some reason.
The reason you might have same name, so you may want to check quickly. There should not be any reason there is an error. If you use the same error, move your error mouse on error, it will tell you, hey, you're using the same name. Sometimes people use a rectangle 1 again, or spelling mistake, right?
I used 2.
Quickly you can resolve, or you can delete and start again. Copy this portion and start 2. I can show you how fast I can do it quickly. Say I delete this, right? So far, if it is working, make sure everything works first before you go to the next level. So that is working. See, it's working. If this is not working, I will fix first this. And then you just copy it, highlight, make sure you don't delete any curly bracket, and then Control V. And the only thing you need to do is 2 here. If you don't do 2, it's not going to work. And then 2, because that's the second instance, that's the second instance, that's the second instance, that's the second instance, and that's it. Now you define different value. It doesn't take longer. And you can see now I highlighted that, so I know that I'm using only second instance. There is no error. Save it and run it, right click and run it. Easy, right? So right now we have a rectangle. Now you say, hey, I am not very clear what is the benefit of that. The benefit of that, you create a template 1 and you can create how many rectangle you can create it. This rectangle has only right now setter and getter. What if I want to add another method called area? So let's go to rectangle. Double click on rectangle. Now this is the last curly bracket. That curly bracket is for rectangle. Make sure you select the curly bracket and just above curly bracket. Don't delete the curly bracket. Above curly bracket, we're going to write a method area. So first of all, what is the method area? What it's going to do? Get me the area. So I'll say get area. So that's the method. Now we need to ask question, is it a function or is it a method? It's going to return me area. So that should be a function. So I'll say public, and it's going to return, it's going to public, and it's going to return integer. So int get area, but it has to have logic. So curly bracket, press enter. So public int, why? It's going to return. But how are you going to calculate area? We have length and width. So we're going to say return this dot length times this dot width. So now this method I added, which is getting me area. Now the beautiful part about you are adding one time to template. So this setter and gather is setting the width. Now you're saying take the length, take the width, calculate and return when you return it is integer. So whoever is calling area, they're going to get the integer area. So this is the formula, how to get area, length time width. Why this dot length and this dot width? Because I want to get this width. Anytime when I use this, I would use this. And if anyone call that, I'm going to give you integer return because this is returning integer. Make sense or no? You already know functions and methods, so should not be that difficult part here. So now, if I want to use that in our main program, you just need to save first. Make sure you save it. Save it. Now go in a my loop. Here you can see your setting length, your setting width. Here you are displaying that. So if I write here s out area equals to, I see on rect 1, and you can see get area is visible. And because I changed the template, if I copy these and paste it here, it will be available for 2 also. Wow, that's pretty easy because I changed the template. And when I change the template, it is automatically available to instance. So you can see this guy is doing area with rectangle 1, and this guy is doing the area rectangle 2. But I actually wrote only in template. I did only one time work. So if I have many instances, they all will get the area method. So this allows productive work. You change the template and suddenly every will get. So if, for example, I have 700 students, I don't have to make 700 time changes. Just make a change in one template and boom, it will be available to all 700 template instances. Now, if I save it and run, you should get the area and let me know if you get it. Give me tada. I really want to know that you are following the flow. See, I get the area for this one, perfect. And I got the area, perfect. And if you are able to do, man, you're doing awesome. You're just doing great, right? You can see on the screen, relax and see that yourself. Any questions so far? Good, good, good. I'm going to give this code also in the main method code in the chat room in case if you're having a typo. Now let's say I wanted to calculate perimeter. So I go to rectangle. I just know the get area. I want to do perimeter. So what would be that? Get perimeter. That's the method. But it is going to return. What is going to return? Integer. So it's a public integer. But this method requires curly bracket, press enter. And how do I calculate perimeter? So I can say return 2 times in parentheses this dot length plus this dot width. Now I'm not going to teach you math, but this is the way I studied perimeter when I have area perimeter. So like this is the length and this is the length, 2 times length, and this is the width, this is the width. So if I want to do perimeter equal to 2 times length and 2 times width, and if I do 2 common, then it's length plus width, and I cannot write length, I'm writing this dot length plus this dot width, and instead of here I'm using star, which is the multiplication, and that it is. So now I added this method. See, I added this method and I save it. If I go back here, I don't have to use it, but if I want to use, do I need to use for both? No. Let's say if I want to only calculate perimeter for rectangle 2, you just copy that line and you can say perimeter. That's flexibility you have. Perimeter, right? Perimeter. And here you can say get perimeter. And that's it. So you don't have to use for both. And save it. Make sure you use rectangle 2. It will automatically calculate perimeter. Now run it and you get the answers. And I calculate the perimeter. See how fast I'm doing productivity work? My program becomes simpler and readable. Anybody can see that this is rectangle, this is length and width, and this is the area, and this is the perimeter for this one. More program is more readable, and that's why object-oriented program becomes more simpler because the object is much more understandable, right? So if I go to this object, it has many things now. So if you see here, this has attributes, they have setter and getter, and these are 2 business logic. So when you are going that, sometimes you may be able to write some business logic. So this business logic is the logic you have. As a QA student, you are going to validate these methods. And when you validate that, that's called JUnit. J means Java, JUnit. Unit means unit. So you will be validating that. So like example, if you are a QA, you are saying, hey, I'm entering 2 and 5. I should be getting area 2 times 5, 10. So when I do this, am I getting 10? If yes, then test pass. Oh, 20 and 50, which is 17, which is 70. So perimeter should be 40, 40 plus 100. So it means 140. So is this giving me 140? And you can see, yeah, it's giving me. It means test is pass. Now I'm right now doing manually. And if I can do through JUnit, I can automate that part. And that part I'll cover next class, how to automate that part. But you should know about how to first create an instance, set the values, and then call appropriate method. This is your instance name. These are method. These methods are returns in this object. So everyone is back. Everyone had a good coffee? Stretch? Good, good. Okay, so in the forum which I was explaining, most of the classes which I'm explaining is here. Just want to give you a little bit preview about the forum, because the forum has a lot of good things and I want you to really make use of it, because everything is fresh what I explained, right? First of all, why we are learning object-oriented programming, because it allows, first of all, inheritance. Inheritance means, I think someone needs to mute yourself, so I'm going to mute you all. Okay. So object-oriented programming gives you inheritance, means parent-child relationship. We talk about polymorphism, means contract interface versus implementation. We talk about abstract. Abstract means just tell what and don't take how. So we talk about. We also talk about encapsulation, means you define attribute, but no one can access attribute. You need to have a getter and setter. So far you're doing procedural programming. Now we are doing object-oriented programming, where you have people, place, and things. This video I would strongly watch a couple of times, because more you watch, easier it will become for UML. Object-oriented programming, we have template create a class, and you can decorate different color, style, make, model, year. So this is the way you create a class first, and then we do that. I'm going to show you car and quickly do that. Every object will have attributes and method. Inheritance means you have parent and child, where parent is called superclass, child called subclass. You can have, this is another interview question, very popular question. Listen carefully. Can you have a multi-level or inheritance? Multi-level. So example, grandfather, father, child, and grandchild. So grandfather, father, child, and grandchild. So you can have that. That is possible. But one child cannot have two parents. Java only supports one parent's concept. So you can have single inheritance, but multi-level inheritance is possible. Multi-level inheritance is possible, but you cannot have multiple parents. So example, a rectangle is a shape, but rectangle cannot be animal. Dog is an animal, but dog is not a shape. So you can have one parent. So when you do like this thing, patient is a person, but then patient cannot be other. At single point of time, once this become a child, only one parent you can have. So it's very important. One parent can have many child, but one child cannot have many parents. That's the way it is designed Java. We talk about polymorphism, shape, area we talk about, and I think I cover in a great detail, so I'm not going to repeat. We talk about either. Either means full-time student is a student, part-time student is a student, which is the parent-child relationship. Has a, we talk about aggregation, and we talk about composition. We already talk about realization, interface, and all. We talk about. Now there is one more questions in interview perspective. Please understand. If you have parent-child relationship, so example, you have a parent, and your child. In parent has a method A, and if you have same method in child, then that concept is called overriding. They may ask question in the exam or interview, if parent has a method called A and similar method child has, what will happen? So this concept called overriding means child override the effect of parent, because this is why it's going to take effect. Overriding. If somebody go to parent, then this will take effect. But if somebody go to child, this will get effect. So this is called overriding. You're removing the effect of parent class. But sometimes you don't want. So in that case, you may want to create a different name. In that case, child can have these and child can have this. Sometimes, like example, you feel like example, old name is here, and you say now new name. In that case, you override. Override allows you to remove the effect of the parent and then take the child effect. So overriding only works when there is a two class, parent and child. And there is a need to have parent and child, and there's a need to have same name of the method. Make sure name is same. In that case, if somebody come to child, then this method is going to call. If somebody come to parent, then this method is going to call. So that's what overriding means. But there is a concept called overloading. It's very also popular concept. In that case, you don't need two classes. You need one class, and in one class you have method A without parameter. You have A with parameter. You have A with multiple parameter. If that's the case, then you are using same method multiple time. That concept is called overloading. One class is still one. There are many methods. Name is still same. Parameters are different. This is called signatures different. If name is same, signature is different, that concept is called overloading. Why would you use that? Old concept, people use this. New concept, people use that. And future concept, people use that. In that situation, you can use overloading. Both are valid. You will not get error. Questions? Any questions so far?
Why would you use the overloading?
Because you started the project in 2000, you had an area differently. But in 2015, you are now calculating area, maybe living area, maybe taxable area. So you change it. So now you need have two type of client. Existing client was using old, and newer clients want to use name new. So that's why you're supporting both client, old versus new. If you're version 1, version 2, overloading is very common, because you are supporting multiple versions, and it happens many times. Any other questions? These are very popular questions. I want to make sure you all know, because you can learn entire Java and you don't know this too, you will come back. Because in interview, as I said before, people will ask 9 questions. These are the questions are very popular. People ask, and I'm drawing and explaining with example. Understand overriding parent and child needed. Method names are same. Overloading only one class. Method names are same, but signatures are different. So overloading for one class, overriding for parent-child class. The reason you do that, because your parent has an old method and child said, let me do the new way. In that case, you do overriding. Okay. And the details are here. And then rectangle class I showed you in front of you. The rectangle class, you can even cut and paste and you can use it. And you can see how nicely we did that. We created rectangle class, we did that, and we did that. And I would suggest this is your homework. You can do the same thing for circle. We have limited time, but you can see we'll do this radius, and then you can do that as well. Now, there is a concept called constructor. So I want to show you constructor in our existing class. So let's go here. So in a rectangle class, so far, relax. So in rectangle class, so far, if I draw the class, what we did is rectangle class. So we have rectangle class and we have 2 attributes here. So these are attributes. And we have multiple method, get and set for that attribute. And then we have area and we have perimeter. But we don't have 2 things, which I want to make sure we cover that. So the 2 things we don't have is, one is a constructor we don't have. And the second thing we don't have is a toString. These are very popular, you will be using often. So toString will print your object nicely. I'll show you what it is, and constructor. So let's understand. Please pay attention. You may like it if you understand it. Many people don't understand and they do coding. This is the constructor. Constructor means new, means create, and this means create a new instance. This is also called constructor. So you are creating constructor. So when you create, you are getting brand new rectangle, but you do not know what is length. You do not know what is width. So that's called empty constructor. Speak with me. Empty constructor. Speak with me. Empty constructor.
Construction.
Empty constructor. Empty constructor.
Constructor.
Yeah, constructor. Empty constructor.
Empty constructor.
Yeah, empty. Make sure every class by default has it. Empty constructor, every class has it. Listen carefully. Java gives you by default, you don't have to write, it's there. So using that constructor, you create your instance. You can create many instances. Here we're creating 2 instances. We are using empty constructor. Even though I did not write, Java gives you that. But then what happened? You are decorating your rectangle with the length and width. You're decorating. Sometime you say, wait a minute, doesn't make sense. I create empty and then I decorate it. Can I combine and do here itself? When I create at the same time, I can give length and width. In that case, I will save these 2 lines. I don't have to do this thing and it will be so simple. As soon as I create a rectangle, it has a length and width. So in that case, empty constructor is no longer good for you. In that case, you need to create a custom constructor. What do you need to do? Custom constructor. So Java has this type of 2 constructor. Empty constructor Java gives you, and custom constructor you create based on your need. But Java say, wait a minute, empty I give you by default, but if you create it, I will remove it. Listen carefully. Java gives you empty constructor by default, but when you create a constructor, Java will remove it. So what does it mean? So like example, if I say when I create a rectangle, I will give you length like that. It means now you cannot use empty constructor. Java will error out here. They say you must give length and width because you create a custom constructor. Empty constructor won't work for you. Empty constructor won't work for you. So when you create a custom constructor, Java hides empty constructor. So you have to use empty constructor. Now it won't work. You have to pass whatever you are looking for. Now you will say, when should I use empty constructor? When I do not know length and width when I create it, then I can use empty constructor. But if I already know length and width, then I should use custom constructor. Can I use both? That's a bingo. Java gives you that also. So Java says that you want flexibility, keep empty constructor and custom constructor. Who knows? Sometimes you may not know about it. If you do not know, you can use setter and getter set method to set this instance. You can set this instance later. If you know it, you can create and you don't need that. So this allows you both flexibility. I normally use both constructor, empty constructor if I don't know an early stage, and then I use set method to populate, or I use custom constructor if I already know it. Make sense? So now the question is, how do I create a custom constructor and empty constructor? So let's go to rectangle block. Let me know you are here. Give me thumbs up. Let me know if you're here. Okay, so a couple of people said thumbs up. Always react. So at least I know we can do fast. Okay, perfect. So we are here. I'm going to give a space after these attributes. Now right click and say insert code. Insert code. And then there is a constructor. And when I do that, there is an opportunity. If I don't select any of them, and if I say generate, it will create empty constructor. Check it out. What is constructor? Constructor has the same name as a class. Constructor has the same name as a class. This method is called when somebody used new. This one is called when somebody used new. This is empty constructor. Let me repeat. I remove this. I right click, insert code, and I select constructor. Do not select any of them. Do not select any of them. Do not select any of them, and just say generate. Then constructor is called. Now, if I want to create custom constructor, right click, insert code, constructor, check, 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 check. And now you have custom constructor. So here you are not passing anything. In that case, you will end up doing set later. Here you're passing already. So as soon as you pass, you're going to populate this thing. Wow. So you have both things. And this is called overloading because you're using same name, but different signature. So this is called overloading. Overloading means your same name, different signature. Why? This gives you flexible. Old people means like existing customer, I would say they are using this one, but new customer wants to use, they can do that. Version 1, version 2. So this both way you can use it. Now the question is, if I remove this, then I have only custom constructor. And if I go to my programming, it's going to cry, say, hey, there is no empty constructor. What should I do? The only options you have to pass this some value and it should be fine. You can pass any value of your choice and it should be fine. You don't have to do this. If you do that, you're overriding. So here you're passing length and width, and then you're overriding. So you don't have to do this line, right? So example, if I remove this line, and if I remove this line, I'm passing custom constructor. Everything will work just like it was before, but I can't use empty constructor anymore. Program will still work. You see, it is taking the value 10 and 20, and this is my perimeter, and this is my area. Everything works. But if I want to do empty and then set, it's not going to work. It's say, hey, you can move your mouse and say, oh, look at that. There is no constructor like this. Oh, so if I see here empty constructor, if I want to solve this error, I need to come back. I'm using custom constructor. Custom constructor means I'm passing something while I'm using the constructor. So in that case, you can come here, right click, and you can say insert code, constructor, and don't select anything and generate. Now error will disappear because now you have empty constructor. If I run this, length and width is 0 because you did not pass it. So this guy will give you everything 0 because you didn't pass, but it still will work. The reason it will work because it's default constructor. You have both constructor now. So you can see here, this guy has 0. If you want to set this thing, you know how to set. You can say rect1 dot set length, and you can say here, you can say 5, and then let's say example rect1, this is set width, and you can say, let's say 55 or something, anything you will set up. So you can see here I'm setting because I'm using empty constructor. Here I'm setting when I'm creating it. Both time I'm using new because this new call constructor, empty constructor, new call constructor, custom constructor. This one has a pre-populated length and width. This one I'm setting later. Both works. Happy jam, right? Questions? Everyone is clear? You may get a lot of error if you do not know this concept. Yes, Masvita, any questions?
How would you add a scanner in here? Will you put it in the my op, or you will
No,
put
you,
it in a
you
rectangle?
always use main. Scanner, if you are using, you always in main. You always
Okay.
use in main.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Now, so what is this one? Rectangle 1 and rectangle 2. How do you pronounce these two?
Instance.
Very good. These are called instance. Make sure you understand this is instance. What you call this one? Constructor.
Constructor.
What do you call this? Constructor.
Empty constructor.
And this is the class. This is the class. So class is same. Constructors are changing, right? You're always using new. When you use constructor, you always use new. The instance name can be any name. After you create instance, you can call whichever method you want. That's something you should know about it, and you should use that method appropriately. Okay. Now, I want to cover one more method before we do the exercise number 2. But once I create the instance, I may be curious to print that instance. So like example, if I want to print here, please see here, I'm printing after I set the value. So I'll say S out, and I say I want to print R1, rectangle 1. Right? This is my instance. So I want to print it. And I'm curious about this instance. I want to see what is the length. I am printing 2. So please understand, I created instance, I set the values, and now I'm printing that. And here I'm pass the values. I create an instance, I'm printing it. So when I print it, you will be surprised to see something weird. Check it out, check it out, check it out. So if I run it, you will see the instance printed, but you won't understand. Can you guess it? What is this? I can't. Can you? This is rectangle 1 and this is rectangle 2. Can you read this? Say yes or no.
Memory address.
You cannot read this, right? So this is a very common problem. So please understand, when you're writing a program, your program will run on production. So when you're using Google, when you're searching something, if there is an error, they will be printing your search object. So what happen is, in Google, you are using search. So Google is a screen, right? And there is a button here, text box, where you search, let's say basketball, and you are saying search. That information go to Google, and Google has an object called search class. They will create a class search, and whatever you say, they call questions, so Q, and then they have setter, getter, just like that, and they print the search. So when they print search, if they don't know what you are searching, they cannot debug, they cannot troubleshoot it. So anyone who write a program, they need to have a way to debug. Otherwise, how would you know what is the length, what is the width? If somebody say my area is incorrect, how would you know that? If somebody say my search is not working, Google should know what you're searching for. Otherwise, there is no way they can help. So it is a very important thing that you have to have a way where you print your object like English, where you can read it. You can think about first name, last name, email. So you can discuss about, oh, you have this detail. Oh, you enter this thing. Oh, so you can have troubleshooting thing. As a QA, it's extremely important, because otherwise, how are you going to do verification if there is a trouble, or there is a defect, or if there is a production issue? To solve that problem, Java gives you toString. Java gives you toString, TO2 string. Now toString take this object and convert in an English readable object. So you can read in English. If you don't have toString, your object will not be readable. So I know how to print the object, but I don't know how to do toString. Don't worry about, go to object. And just like that, just like you added a custom and empty constructor, just like that, add your cursor somewhere in the middle. Add your cursor somewhere in the middle and right click and then say insert code. Order doesn't matter. It doesn't matter you do setter first, getter first, and it doesn't matter. So wherever you want, you can add here, you can add here, you can add here, wherever you can right click, insert code, and just add toString. Check, check, check. Now it writes beautiful method. Now you can see it's English method. You save it. Now if I go to my main method, I'm not changing anything, but whenever you are printing object, it automatically called toString, which I have it now. So it's going to do beautiful printing like this. Wow, really? It's going to do that? So anytime you print object, it called toString. Anytime you print object, it's going to get toString. So let's check it out. And if I run it, now you can read the objects very clearly. Wow. That's pretty good. It's a readable object. Do you guys agree or not? Give me thumbs up if you are understanding. No one understands? Okay, at least last year I had understanding. So sometimes people will ask in interview question, why would you use toString? toString is for troubleshooting, which helps you to print object and its attribute. So it prints attribute. So now you know length is 5, width is this, length is this. So you can now see area is correct or not. You can check it out, right? If you don't have this object, then you don't know is it right or wrong. So you cannot troubleshoot. That's why toString is extremely important. I normally do 99.99% toString. Every time I do Pojo, I have 4 things: attribute, setter and getter, constructor, and toString. How many things? 4 things: attributes, setter and getter, constructor, and toString. Again, attributes, setter and getter, constructor, and toString. I always do that. This is my habit, but I use 99.9. I did not say 100%. So that's another question in your interview. You say, hey, toString is pretty good. It's a readable. Then why you are not using 100%? What's the difference? Why? Why would you not print 100%? Any suggestions? On which situation we should not use toString?
Production?
In production, we should use toString, but in which situation of production you should not use toString. The reason you are using toString is for troubleshooting. So for production, you will use 99%, but 1% you are not using.
Production where you don't need that value to show up.
You're closer. When do you don't need that value?
When you don't have to troubleshoot at all?
Most likely you will troubleshoot. Most likely because you don't know what will be the problem. But Silas, would you like to print your SSN?
No.
Would you like to print your credit card and password?
No, that's when you need to troubleshoot. But when the condition is certain and you don't have to troubleshoot anything, then you don't have to use a toString.
Yeah. So first of all, if you are using sensitive details, example, your password, example, username and password, or social security and PIN, or credit card, or account number, you don't want to print it. You don't want to print that. So the only reason you don't print is your SSN, account number, password, like that. So what you should do, let's say example, if I have created SSN here, then I need to come here and I should remove that part. If I have done credit card, I should come and remove. Everywhere I can use it, just don't print it. Don't print it. I will tell you, when I was in Chrysler, in 2000, everyone SSN was printed. SSN, the username and password we were printing. So anybody who leaves Chrysler, they might have somewhere log. So along with log, that time they also take some people SSN, username and password. You don't know who is right and who is wrong. That person now they can log in and they can do a lot of damage, right? During this time, Sarbanes-Oxley, that's the standard came, Sarbanes-Oxley. And they said that you should never print sensitive details in the log to save and protect our customer details. So Sarbanes-Oxley said log should not have a username and password. So we remove that. And that's why I knew since 2001 that you should never print credit card, password, other thing. Why? Because people can misuse. Because there's no the security or privacy afterwards. So this was came by Sarbanes-Oxley long time back in 2002, 2001. So these are standard we you all follow. Now PII standard is there, personal identify information. So you cannot print now email also because people use phone number, credit card, account. There are so many. The new standard came PCI. You cannot print credit card. And when I was in Sears, we used to print credit card, entire 15-digit credit card. We also print expired date, CVV code and all. But then PCI standard came when Target was hit in 2000, I think it's 11. So then that removed. So nowadays people don't add sensitive information in log. And if they try, they encrypt it so it's not readable. Yeah, just as FYI. Such kind of questions are deeper questions. Deeper in the sense of if you answer very well, then some people will try to see how deeper you know. And if you answer such kind of thing, Sarbanes-Oxley, PCI, PII standard, HIPAA standard. In healthcare, you should not add people sensitive information like example or disease, you have cancer or da 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 da. If you are using child, you should not do COPA related thing if child has Down syndrome and all. And these are all standard you should know about it. Some company may ask, do you know any standard? Again, you don't need to know any of them. Just one liner you need to know. COPA is for child, HIPAA is for healthcare, PCI is for credit card, PII is for personal identifier information, and Sarbanes-Oxley is normally the log should not have sensitive information and it should not be accessible by developer. Log should not have sensitive information and should not have access by developer because developers can misuse that. So Sarbanes-Oxley say developers should not have production access, right? Again, these are important. Why? Because you all will be working some shape or form in this standard. Unfortunately, no books, no material will be available. In interview, people will ask you some job description. If you read carefully, they will say PCI knowledge is preferred. The only thing you need to remember, credit card is sensitive. Don't just use and print everywhere. Just that's all you need to remember. You cannot store it, you cannot give it, you cannot export it like that. So you just, that's all they need. But if you say, I don't know PCI, then they may say you don't know, but it's just 1 minute. You all know that sensitive information should not print it. Good. So that completes my how to create object. Now I want to go further and I still have a time. So I want to create a hazard kind of thing, hazard. Okay, so you can understand how it. This exercise will be a little bit different, but Masvita, your question?
No, I don't. I think it's from the old. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so now at this moment, I'm hoping all of you are understanding what I'm explaining. These are very crucial. Trust me. I'm trying my best to explain with example, and these are very crucial. If I were you, I would watch a couple of times recording, because I know sometimes one time you may not be able to understand. The videos which I have, which I mentioned, you watch 4, 8 times, 9 times, 10 times, because I have created that simplest form. The form which I'm explaining, I created myself, right? Simplest form. Whatever I'm explaining is all here. So you can see here circle. Circle is a class, attribute is a radius, and I created a custom constructor. And then I'm using here custom constructor. And then I'm asking how to use this and all. Now I'm going to go this way. I'm going to do this, and this will be a last exercise for the day. Some of the things we'll cover next class, but right now I'm going to do this. You don't have to do, because I'm going to copy paste from here. I'm going to show you step by step from here. If you want to follow me, you can follow also. I'm not going to type anything. I'm going to use exactly like this. Okay, so in case if you are in a forum, it's a Java object-oriented programming. I put in a chat link, so you can see. You don't have to what do you call do it. You can just see here. So now this exercise is the last exercise for today, and will be done afterward. Relax and enjoy. So school has a department. I think you already know school has department, means has a, right? School has department. So we talk about, and school has students. So here school has students. So we are doing this way, student. Now full-time student is a student. So full-time student is a student, and part-time student is a student. Do you guys agree? Now these entire things I'm going to create as a class. So first of all, how many entity you have? School is one entity, department is another entity, student is another entity, department has courses. So department has courses. Make sense or no? Give me thumbs up if you are following so far. Department has courses, so department is a class. Part-time and full-time students. So there are a lot of classes we have, and that is the reason I don't want you to create along with me. If you want to copy paste and do, that's great, because entire exercise I have done here, there is zero chance you will have error, because I have done it. If you type, I know you will have error. I want you to pay attention while you're understanding. So this class, everything will make sense to you now, because you already know now. So this is the attribute, and this is my custom constructor. Do you guys agree? I'm expecting name should be added, great, and then setter and getter, and you will see two strings somewhere. Give me thumbs up if you are clearly understanding this entire class. Attribute, constructor, setter and getter, and two string. These four things I always do. Always do. So if I have 7 class, I'm going to repeat 7 times. Pretty good. So creating, no problem. If I go to department, now I want you to give you hint. Remember, your project is exactly like that. Instead of department, you have bank. Okay, please pay attention. So department itself is a class and has attribute name, and department has a department head. So department head is there, but department has a course list. So whenever you has course, department has a course, the way you do this has array list. Remember, whenever you say has, you use array list. Just like, remember we talk about array means list of values. Whenever you have has, Of course, you will have one department can have many courses. So you use array list. Array we have studied, array list we have not studied. And you say, what is this array list? Never heard about it. So think about array is a finite. Finite means you can specify 5, 10 like that. But what if you don't know how many? So there is a concept Java introduced called array list, infinite. In array, you got to specify how many array you have, how many block you have, because if you don't do block, remember we talk about you will have news, people die. And that's the reason array people nowadays don't use, because you have to define the size. And if size is not correct, you will have error. To solve that problem, Java gave a concept called array list. Now in this array list, what are we going to add? Number, string, or object? But you can see here, you say that department has courses. So that's why you are saying in that array list, I'm going to add courses. So you use this angular bracket and say in this array list, I'm going to add courses. So if you know the class diagram, you know this concept very well. Majority people don't know the class diagram. Say, I don't understand. The reason they don't understand because they don't know the aggregation part. So you can read in English, department has course. It's not a book. It's not an author. It's not a movie. It's not a string. It's a course. So that's why you are using course. And this is a course more than one. So we use variable. This is the variable course list. You can write any variable you want. And why you are using array list? Because I don't know how many course you have. Start with 0, maybe later on 5, maybe 50. That's why I'm using array list. Array list come from Java util, just like scanner. Array list come from Java util. Questions so far with this line? This is your best friend. You will be using hundreds of time for your project. Any questions so far? Give me thumbs up if you are clear so far. Awesome. Now, how many attributes I have? 1, 2, and 3. So if I create a constructor 1, 2, and 3, you can see everywhere I'm using this thing because we are telling, in this array list, don't add a book, don't add a movie, only add course, because that's the relationship we have. If you don't add anything and empty, then anybody can add anything here. So this concept, Java says that in angular bracket, if you add an object, then only that object is allowed. This concept is called generic. Speak with me, generic. This is a very special thing they added in Java 1.5 to avoid mistake, because array was primitive. Primitive means number, string, float, but object was not working well. And when somebody add object, they were adding book, movie, car, driver, everything you can add, and that was creating hodgepodge. To solve that problem, Java say, array list should have specific thing. What should you add? So it will not allow anything, only and only it will allow course, because that's the relationship you have. Because your class diagram shows relationship. Department has course. Department doesn't have anything else. So you should not allow. And that's the reason you're enforcing, even it is generic, I'm going to only allow course. Make sense? And then same thing, you have constructor, setter and getter, and toString. Give me thumbs up if you're understanding this object. Good, good, good. Awesome. Now moving along. Now everything will make sense to you because it's all easy now. Now student object, how many attributes you have? 3 attributes. The first attribute, and see I'm using custom constructor, and all things are here. And as I did 3, this is the constructor, setter and getter, and toString. So student object is there. Now we are doing, so this student has a parent class, which is, so let's draw it so you'll understand. So you have student, this is the main class, student, and you have 3 attributes, name, ID, and email. So every student will have name, ID, and email. Now you are creating full-time student. So full-time student, if you want to show that is like that, and part-time student is a student, right? So if you want to show this inheritance or either, then the concept is called extends. What do you call? Extends. What do you call? Extends. So full-time student extends student. Part-time student extends student. Full-time student extends student. Part-time student extends student. So if you show this relationship, you got to use extends, and this is your parent and this will become a child. So already I have parent class, because parent class has no need to worry about child, but child should know of the parent class, because extends. What do you call? Extends. Remember, extends. So how do you do that? Check it out. So here you go. Full-time extends student. So you can see now this line say full-time student extends student. It means whenever you do this type of thing, you have to have student class exist first. And then this is child class. So this is the parent and this is child. This line means extends. And now you might notice that this guy has its own attribute. This guy has its own attribute. So this guy had 3 attributes, if you remember: ID, name, and email. And this guy has 2 attributes: number of class and fees. So total, you might notice here, there is a 5 items here. Because, listen, this is very important. Because whenever you do child class, very important topic, listen. Whenever you do child class, child class need its own 2 attribute, and child class, wait a minute, you want me to create, but I cannot create without parent, and parent need 3 attribute. So do you have all 5 attribute? If yes, give me, and from there it will give 3 to parent and take 2 and use for themselves. So you can see 2s are used for itself. What does it mean? Child need 2 attributes. If you give 2, it's not going to work. Child says, I cannot exist without my parent. You give me parent details. Give me parent details. So when you create a child, you do need to give parent details. So when you create a constructor, listen carefully, even you are creating a child constructor will call super. What are you going to call? Super. And super is nothing but parent. And it will pass whatever parent needs. So parent needs 3 items: ID, name, and email. So you can say name, ID, and email. It is passing. How does it know? Very simple. Super means parent and parent means constructor. So if I go to above, that should be a constructor. And here you go, name, ID, email. So name, ID, email. So this super is nothing but it's calling student constructor. Name, ID, email, it will automatically go here. So parent get all. If parent gets all, then child can move forward. And then child will do its part. And then rest of the things you know. Attributes and operations. Questions. This is the question most time people ask. What is super means? So super means calling parent constructor. Very simple. Super means calling parent constructor. So if you use super, you are calling parent, and here you are calling parent constructor. So if I have a method here, which is a child class, and if I have a method in a parent, so what should we do? If method exists in both class, what should we do? So Java say, oh, your parent child, same method exists in both. That's called overriding. If method exists in both parent and child. So if method exists in parent and method exists in child, so the child method you call through this dot a. And from child, if you want to call parent, then you can say super, lowercase super dot a. So if you do super dot a, then this automatically Java understand you're going to child. If it's a super, Java will say, oh, you are talking about parent, and it will go to parent. Make sense? So super refer to parent, These refer to existing class or child class. Super, if you just write super, it means you are referring to parent constructor. If you write super dot like that, it means you're saying go to parent and call this method. Are we clear? Give me a thumbs up if you are very clear. Good,
So
good,
if
good.
you call this, that means whichever class you're calling, you can call either
Yeah,
one with the
yeah,
things.
yes. You have to be in that class. Yeah, you
Okay.
have to be in this class. But if I'm a child, then I can go to parent. And if I want to go to parent, I have to use super.
Super. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. I hope you're understanding. I'm drawing, I'm explaining. Trust me, 15 years people don't understand this. This is very, very crucial topic, but I don't have a choice because we can spend life and not understand versus we spend 3 hours and understand lifetime knowledge. That's why Java is essence. And that is the reason many times, oh, you can cover Java in, it's not how many days you spend, it's how you explain. And then you guys, how many times you review and repeat, because this made my life easy, right? I can tell you every day people make mistakes. And when people make mistake, it's end up costing company a lot. A lot of problem happen because they don't know. They don't know what is super and this. What happened? They keep calling and say, oh, it's not working. So they, instead of calling parent, they keep calling child and they create issues because ideally they wanted to call parent, but they don't know how to call parent. So they end up because when you write code, there is no error. Method exists in both places, but instead of calling parent, you keep calling child. Now the newcomers don't know about it. The only issue happen, QA doesn't know. Now issue happen, and it's pretty hard to debug that unless you're fundamental clear. It's pretty hard to debug such kind of issue because parent-child relationship in production, troubleshooting data. Trust me, it takes huge amount of time to find this kind of mistake. That's why understanding what you are doing is very important before you write coding. Okay, moving along. Okay, and the same apply for parent part-time. You can see what is extends means. Then, hey, this is child, this is the parent, and is a relationship exist. Got it. And this is the 5 items. Why 5 items? 3 items will go to parent and 2 items will go to child. Oh, super is there. Always goes to here. Another question people ask. Can I create child without parent? What would be answer? Yes or no?
No.
Answer is no. So now they may ask question. If I create, listen, this was the question asked when I was in IBM. If I create a construct, a child constructor, what would be the first line of the child constructor?
Parent, like super and the
That's it.
attributes.
That's it. Super. If you are creating, listen carefully, if you are creating a parent child, so here the child is there. If you're a child and if you create a constructor, the first line must, there is no should, there is no other thing, must be super. Must. If you remove this line, it's not going to work. And even you put this line second, it's not going to work.
Okay.
It's a must. That line has to be there. And this kind of question people ask in Java certification. If you just repeat this today's class, I can give you guaranteed 20 to 25 question out of 50. You will be doing very, very well. In 3 hours, 20 plus questions, I answered that in the Java certification. How come Java certification is hard? In 3 hours, you can understand. The problem is we are not putting 3 hours correctly. That's the problem. Those who get a Java certification written guarantee, guaranteed job and high pay job. Java certification is not hard. This concept is hard and no one explained that. So that's why Java certification is hard. And that's the reason companies see, oh, your Java certification, let me hire you. Because they say, wow, you know the concept clearly. So you will do pretty good job for me. That is the reason company gives you more money if you have certification, because it's one way assurance that you know the concept well. These questions will be asked in the exam. They put this super second line and say, will it work? You will get error, compilation error. I'll show you. Okay. Your code cannot compile because Java knows there is a parent and you are doing second. Java will not even compile the code for you. Okay. So everything looks good. Now, main thing came school. Now, if you see here, school has this attribute, but now this is this. Who will explain me? What does it, this two means? This two line means? Please explain. I draw it many times. So what does
So
it mean?
school has a department,
So
but
school,
school has many departments. That's why it's array list. And
yes.
depart list is the variable.
And the school has a student list also. Do you agree or
Right.
not?
Yeah.
So whenever you use has a, you use array list, and what relationship you have, that will go in generic. Makes sense? This is something you will be using because in your project, you have bank has employees. You will do exactly like that. Instead of department, you will have employee list. Bank has customer. You will use customer and customer. You have to create a customer class, just like I have created student. So if you understand this exercise, your project is 60% done.
I have a question.
I have an answer.
How do you define like aggregation versus composite in here? Or you
Yeah,
don't need to?
you don't define that. The
Okay.
only thing you do define is if you there is no difference here in this line.
Okay.
But if you are doing composition, then there will be a one line here. These initializations, right now you can see I'm just declaring, but I'm not doing empty array list. So I need to, if I have a composition, I would have department list. I would write department list equal to new array list.
Okay.
So I will do that and I'll like that empty. So basically I will create it. And when I delete these thing, I'll also forcefully delete that. So I have to write that additional code.
Okay.
But there is no special thing you write for compositions. This is just additional code. You do life management basically. Whenever you create a school, you create this, and whenever you destroy school, you destroy that. I'll cover that in coming class because that would be an interesting way to show.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So now school is there. Now at the last, which is called this thing called populate object. Now, please understand this is interesting, useful. So first I created 3 instances of course. I don't see you will have a problem. Once I have 3, I'm saying, hey, let's create an empty array list. And that array list, I'm going to add 2 courses. So now the course list has 2 courses. So if I see the course list, I have 2 courses. This course independently I created. And then I say this course 1 is added here and course 2 added here. And this name is called course list. I created course list. It's kind of bucket I created. Array list is nothing but bucket. In that bucket, I added 2 courses. Now I went to department. I give department name and say, you know what? This department has these 2 courses. And I created department. Let's try to understand one more time. Do you agree that I'm creating a constructor, which is custom constructor, and I'm passing 2 attributes? These 2 attributes, if you scroll up, it is coming from course. And you have seen that, but I'm going to repeat again just to make sure this is the course. Say how many attributes you have? How many attributes you have? 2. And this is your custom constructor name and grade point. Now, if I go here, I'm calling that same class in a main and I say, hey, this is a course and this is the grade point. So now I got a course 1, I got a course 2 and a course 3. But they are independent course. Department need a course list. So I created empty course list. First, I create empty course list. I say course list and now I added. So I added. So now this course list has 1 course and 2 course. And then this course list goes here. So now if I read the department name is IT department. The head is Mr. Smith. And there are 2 courses this department have. So far so good. And now I created another list, array list. You say, I told you, right, you will be using hundreds of times. And in that I added course number 3. And I created a new department and added this course inside. So how many departments I have so far? Department 1 and department 2. each department has course list. So this department has 2 courses and this department has only 1 course. That is the course number 3. Question so far? I'm following the diagram. So if you remember the diagram, department has courses. That's the way it is. Yes or no? So department has a courses. So each department has courses. So here I have department 1. I can only do department if I have courses. Now how can I create a course list? So I create an empty, first I create an empty array list and then added a course. And then I pass these course list to here. So I create a department 1. So if I print department 1, I can see department name and that courses. And I create a similar department 2. So this is like an example I showed you that I can create multiple department like that. Make sense? Now, if I go further, now I have part-time students. So you can see this is the part-time students and full-time student. I'm passing 5 items. 2 item for part-time and 3 item for student, right? I pass it. So I have 2 student. Now I'm creating a department list and adding those department, whatever department I created, adding here. I'm creating a student list and adding the students here because school need 2 things, department list. So department list I have here, department 1 and department 2 I created. So I added department list will go here. And then I create a student list and student has part-time and full-time and I added here. And once I print it, school has everything. So school has everything. If you do that, your project is just like that. So think about that. Let me explain what we are trying to do. Please pay attention a little bit. It will give a more visual effect. So school is like the biggest object. So school has student list. Do you guys agree? School has student. But student has 2 types, part-time student and full-time student. And then school has department. And department has courses. This is what we have. So whenever you have has, so if I go to department, there should be array list of course. So that's why first I create a course and this one a department has an array list of course list. So I created a course list and then randomly added 2 courses. Now when I create department, I need a course list. So department need a course list. So this thing I completed here. This is for one department. And then I created the same thing, another department too, and created a course for that, which is this line. So I have department 1 here, department 2. Now if I combine this thing, then I can have department list, which I did here, which is this one. Then for this one, I need a part-time student and full-time student. So for this one, I created each student here, which is this one, part-time student and full-time student. But because it's a hazard, I need an array list. So I created array list and then student I added in this array list. Now I have this array list. Oh, and then I have other list and then I fill up this information.
Why do we write school 2 times down there?
Where did I write 2 times?
On that highlighted line, school.
This is the variable. This is the class.
Okay, got it.
This is the constructor. This is the lowercase student is school, right? It's a variable.
Yes.
It's a lowercase, just like everywhere. So this is the variable. This is the class. This is the constructor.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. So now I'm going to do it how it do. Then you do the lab with your partner. Did I create it? I think we create a group also, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to do it. It will take me 10 minutes to do that. So at least you can understand, and we are recording the session also. Okay. You guys can do first when you do the group exercise, first do it because it's a working exercise. Once you do it, warm-up exercise, you should do this. This is the warm-up exercise. Once you do that, then you do project, you're done. project should be almost done, right? So let me show you how fast I can do it, because everything I'm following like just like written here, because I did this myself and everything I explain here also, I draw it. After that, you should not have a problem, but I can see here, I'm taking a course, check it out, relax, okay? Don't do too much. Just see here, I can create a new project just to quickly new project and my school. It won't take more than 10 minutes to complete because everything is clear. I right click, new Java class. Make sure you exact naming conventions are there. Finish. Course is done. And I'm going to copy this course. The reason I'm explaining so you can see how I do it. And you guys, then you can, course is entire. Make sure you copy correctly. Course, there is no error. Okay, course is done. And go back here. Then the department. So make sure name is correct. So that's why I'm copying the name here. Right click on a package, name, Java class, department. So first I create empty class and then I delete that class because name is important. I delete that class and then I go here and take entire thing here up to this. I spend a lot of time for you guys. Trust me. If you do it well, life will change. Again, I can just tell you, but you have to take action. No one has educated this and no one will educate. The only thing is you need to just take right action and boom, 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 benefits will visible. So you did that. And I'm going to copy this student class. So I replace that. So make sure you replace that so you don't have error. There's no error here so far. Student is done. Now I want to create a full-time student. So make sure you create child class first. So the way you do, right click, new Java class. So child class and then delete this thing. And then copy that. So you won't get error. Always parent class you have to create first, right? So now parent class is already there. Save it. There is no error. See, department is crying right now. Don't worry about it. The reason it is crying because array list. You just click here and import the array list and error disappear. Don't worry about that. Okay. Just read the error and don't keep worried about it. Same thing department here. There is no issue here. So it's just unnecessary crying. That's fine. So that is done. Now part-time. Let's do part-time. Is it crying because of a reason? I don't think it's crying for the right reason. There is no error, right? I don't see any error here, so it should not be a problem. Right click, new Java class, part-time, finish. So that is done. And then just delete that. Up to this, delete. Okay, and you copy this. So that is done, done. So that is done. So that is good. Now, school, the last object of the day. This is school, the master object. Oops. That's a parent. In your case, it will be bank. You just delete that and see how I have done. I explain what's the recording couple of times. I know it will take time. That's why it's a project. It's not a homework. I completely understand. That's why we're giving you enough time also. It's not like 1 hour you can be completing that. So that is done. Anytime you get an error, don't cry. Just click here and that is good. School is good to go. Now the master, which is the main method. So the main method I gave it. So don't copy main method. If you want to copy, that's fine too. You can just copy entire main method up to here. Now I go to my which one? Yeah, my school, which has a main method. I remove this part and I paste it here. Array list crying, add it like that. Now, so that looks good. Now I right click, and if I print it, everything will be printed along with the school. And school will have department. You can see now, done. So you can see, read that school has this name and it has department list. Department list will have course list. Check it out. So you can see course list. Course 1, course 2, course 3, right? And then there will be students. So you have student list. Pretty good. right? So my humble request is you follow the step what I just did and then try. So when you do create hospital class, these are the attributes I give. Whenever I give you attribute, what you need to do, create a hospital class, create the attributes, and you need a fourth thing. Remember, attribute, constructor, attribute setter and getter, constructor, and toString. You may have a problem when you do either. Remember, either is a problematic child. I'll give you a hint. Has a, array list, no problem. Either you will have a problem. To solve that problem, always start with a parent class. So employee. So here, see here, what I want you to give hint here. See, this is the parent class. So don't even go to child class. Always focus on parent class. Get the parent class complete. So complete. And once your parent class complete, then and then you come here, because if you have more attribute in parent class, then here you will have error. So you have to keep deleting this. You have to go back to the parent class, see what they need, because these will be match. This will be match of parent class 3, child class 2. So total 5. And then super has to be there. Super is nothing but here. So if you do not do this, you will have keep getting error. So always do parent class first. Once you have that, smooth ride. And then rest of the thing, you can see how I populate course. You follow that and then create this thing. So if it is a course list, this is the variable, and I'm adding courses. That's why this is the generic course. So if you have bank and you want to add account, then here it will be account. It will be account. If bank has department, then it will be department. Here it will be department list. And then slowly you add. And when you do this, these constructors need that, because if I go to department, I will know right away. So if I go to department, so let me just go to department, you will see what I'm talking about. If I go to department, yeah. So if you see department, it is clearly saying that department has a name, department has a head, and department has array list. It means you need to pass array list, which should have a course, array list with course. So if by default array list will be empty, and then you do course. So you need to create course 1, course 2, add those things first. Once you add it, course list is ready, you pass it. So if you come here, the same thing we are doing here. So here you can see here, first we created empty course list, then we are adding course, and then we are adding that in course list. Such kind of explanations, now you should be able to do that. Okay, so follow the flow, do the homework with your group, and then work on your project. And that's all for tonight. I will add recording in your class.